Hi and welcome to the channel. In this video, I share some insights that I gained from the American Psychological Association seminar which I attended in California. And I talk about reality versus imagination or expectation and the gap in between. We all carry in our minds an imagined life, a version of ourselves, of who we could be, what we could have, and where we could go. This imagined life often serves as motivation, but it can also be a source of deep dissatisfaction. The gap between imagination and reality is where dissatisfaction emerges. We picture the ideal job, the perfect home, a version of ourselves that's more successful, more disciplined, more at peace. But real life doesn't usually line up neatly with that inner movie. And even when it does, even when we achieve the thing that we dream of, it often doesn't feel as good as we have thought it would. Why is that? Because things change. We change. Let's take an example. For instance, we imagine getting a brand new car when we are in college. And by the time we graduate and get that car, it feels good for a while, but not as much as we had imagined perhaps. One, because we change over time, and two, because we adapt quickly. The high of reaching a goal fades, and new desires replace the old. This is the hedonic treadmill at work. So instead of expecting to feel the same as before about the dream, we can keep the mind flexible and let it feel differently if it does. The fantasy is frozen in time, but reality is fluid. We cannot control how we'll feel when we finally get what we wanted. What once looked like the finish line turns out to be just another point on the road. That's human nature. But if we are unaware of it, we get stuck chasing more, forever moving, but never fulfilled, not being able to fill the gap. So how do we fill this gap? Do we lower our expectations? Give up on the dream? Not really. The answer lies not in abandoning the imagined life, but in changing how we relate to it. Also, leaning into the small good things happening day to day elevates the mood and helps fill the gap. This is where acceptance comes in, a practice of acknowledging reality exactly as it is and finding a sense of contentment. When we accept our current state, we create a stable platform from which real change becomes possible. When we realize that dream fulfillment might not guarantee the imagined or expected level of happiness, then we can relax a bit. On the flip side, sometimes the reality turns out better than what we imagine. And when that happens, we can learn to savor the joy. When we accept what is while working for what could be, then imagination becomes the compass. But dissatisfaction, if left unmanaged, can distort the journey. We can appreciate where we are and still want more. We can hold ambition and contentment simultaneously. So, to fill the gap between imagination and reality, we don't necessarily aim to eliminate the gap completely. We just learn to fill it with intention and awareness. We learn to hold space for both dreams and reality and savor the enjoyment of life. And in doing so, we stop letting dissatisfaction run the show. So some of the key tips are keeping the mind flexible, savoring the good experiences, being in the present moment, content with what is while striving for what could be, and lastly, recognizing the good things, no matter how small they are, each day to bring joy to life. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing to the channel. Have a good one.